guys. Like Garden Report
Fellas?
7.0 since the Ime Udoka thing broke.
A name
On
who
and
shall
on
not
and
be
on we go.
a name who shall not be said any longer.
He who shall not be named. I
Yes.
hear a little blip. That's Joe
Right on
Sway.
time.
It's Joe Sway's
He's
music.
Joe Sway's got stuff going on. Okay, that's all right. We'll jump in there in a little bit once he gets settled. What we're going to talk about today, Celtics hold their media day. This is so strange because this is like fluff day, right? You know,
Supposed to be.
how green is your hair? And what did this do? And I mean, normally this is really light stuff. Obviously, if there's off-season questions, you talk about them. You would get some Jalen trait, but the 90% of it ends up being.
Somebody's in great shape. Somebody's out of shape. Like like that's usually what the crazy part of the day is. Some
This is usually
pictures.
This is the only day that the media likes us usually, and today it's the opposite because it's players rather. The players like us, and today was a little bit of knives out, obviously, and not too bad. Nobody got testy. There was no.
Today it was what's your take on inter-office relationships?
Yeah, right.
Generally speaking,
nothing contentious. It was what it was. So we're gonna break down some of the stuff we talked about, and again, I think again we're analyzing a lot here, but and Jimmy, I think you agree here. I mean, really, I think all of us agree. This was a lot of our biggest fear, is that the players would be entirely in the dark, and that's very, 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 very clearly the theme of what went on today. So it is what it is, and that's what's going to happen. Real quick, we just want to tell you about our sponsors, our terrific sponsors here on the Garden Report. Garden Report is brought to you by Athletic Greens, your one-stop shopping for 75 high-quality vitamins to help you get your day started right. And of course, there's Calm, one of our longest tenured sponsors here. Calm, the #1 mental wellness app to give you the tools that improve the way you feel. We're going to talk to you about cool giveaways here, and obviously great discounts with these deals that you.
Calm.com/garden, 40% off.
We'll tell you more about it a little bit later. But again, we're going to talk about this. We're going to bring in a little guy we like to call Josue Pavone. We're going to test his audio.
Can we hear him is the question.
We're certain it's going to be good. What's going on?
Yeah, call us a little guy.
Yeah, what's that all about?
You got to get a little higher on the screen. There you go.
What the hell is that?
I was afraid. I just want to make sure you guys hear me first.
No,
I'm literally
got
checking
you.
out. Go ahead,
Loud and clear, 5G.
I might leave you in the right corner. Normally that's Bobby's spot. We'll see. You might last over there. Okay. I like you over there. Yeah. So, guys, initial reaction to the press conferences, and I think I'll start it out for those for those who haven't seen it. We streamed the whole thing live from Canton at their media day. It's up on our website. You can check that out at CLNS Media, YouTube's page, and we've also broken all the press conferences into individual pressers, so you can watch one at a time. But it's all there. So if you want to get caught up on that stuff, go check that out. That's on our YouTube site right now. Please subscribe as well, obviously. But we were there. We streamed it for 2.5 hours.
John was there throwing fastballs.
Jumping on the
We asked them last year, do you ever go ask tough questions? And there's John on the scene today.
I don't know.
Media day, he can let it fly because everyone can go to media day. You got local news there. You got the photographers. You got everybody there. You can kind of get away with a little bit more on media day.
You can a little bit, and at the end of the day, all we were all trying to do was asking the same kind of questions different ways, trying to get a little bit of clarity on the situation here. And again, our #1 motivation, at least mine going into today, was to figure out whether the players were on the same page. I did not expect clarity. I did not expect the players were going to tell us, well, yeah, all this stuff happened, so of course we get it. I was shocked at how the word confused kept getting thrown around. I was shocked how in the dark they were. We cut up a little snippet with some of the players for those who didn't catch it to hear what they had to say. We'll play this and then we'll get into it a little bit. Here you go.
I guess I feel like everybody else is a lot to process, just a lot, if I'm being honest. And I guess along with everybody else, you're still trying to process it all, knowing that, we start practice tomorrow.
No conversations as far as me on my end. Initial reactions, I think we were all, shocked what was going on, a little confused, a little bit, but a lot of that information wasn't being shared with us or members of the team. So,
he came to see me in LA, see a couple players in LA. So, like I said, we got caught off guard just like everybody else.
My biggest thing is always looking at perspective and understanding what we have in front of us. We have a situation, to your point, but we can't dwell on anything like that. We have all these expectations. We have.
Okay.
So there you go. The long and short of it was blindsided. Marcus said Ime had visited him recently in LA. No indication that anything was going on. Jason Tatum found out about it on Twitter. So did other people. But Tatum was the first one who said it. I think that was a really head-turning soundbite. With like, really? And so this is kind of one of those catch-22s. Like Marcus, I think, said it very clearly. He said, yeah, I totally think it'd be beneficial if we knew a little bit more. But also, I totally get why we can't know more. And that pretty much sums it all up. I asked Jaylen Brown directly. You're talking about like questions. One question I asked direct. And this is the number one question for me. Not knowing details, is it difficult for you guys to be able to determine whether or not you think that the punishment was justified? And Brown just basically said, yeah, it's difficult. And that was my biggest fear, is that the players wouldn't know whether or not they could get on board with it. They have to take the Celtics management at their word that what Ime did rose to this level without really knowing whether they think it did.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we were scared of, as you said, John, that there'd be uncertainty. And I didn't even expect that there'd be this level of confusion and uncertainty from the players. Tatum saying he found out on Twitter. There's a team meeting where they briefly and vaguely discuss some things. And again, we understand the team's argument for why they can't tell anybody, but you would think the players, and maybe they may not be showing as much as they know to the media, but they did seem frustrated, in the dark, confused, and shocked today, legitimately. We were talking about how Brad and Wick kind of looked shaken at their press conference. I thought Brown certainly did here, Smart, and some others showed some more poise and optimism over the situation. But I thought Joe Mazzulla set the tone. We're going to have to earn the trust of this team, and we're going to have to allow for some time to heal, because I think this room's legitimately shaken by what happened here this week. They found out just like we did. The Wolves report with a smile and
they know as much as we know. That's the whole thing. And I get the vibe, and Josue was there as well, and I want to get his take, and obviously Jimmy's as well. But the vibe I get, at least from Jaylen early on, was that he almost alluded to, like, we know stuff goes on, and that's kind of the thing we've talked about a ton on this show. As far as like players, coaches, pro athletes, blah, 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 they're not angels. Everybody knows that. And so the difference between, kind of maybe doing things that aren't great for a family man.
I get that quote, John.
Yeah.
Jaylen said, I wish we had more details. From what we know, it's hard to make a decision based on whether it's consensual or not in the workplace, which we know has happened before in the workplace. It looks like there's more to it than meets the eye.
So that's kind of it. Do they believe it rose beyond the level of kind of just an office fling? A guy messing around, stepping out on his girlfriend or wife or whatever, and rose to this level. And I'm not sure I'm not sure they have enough information to know that. And it's honestly, it's the same way a lot of fans are reacting, guys.
Right, it is, which is, I think that's what's surprising everyone, including Celtics fans. But I'm not surprised, because I don't think the players would know much more information than we do, unless they were going through interviews through players throughout that thorough investigation that happened a month ago. If that was the case, then yeah. But I also think if that was the case, then you really risk a leak coming out of about this story weeks before we heard about it, just like everybody else. So I think there's a lot of truth there. I don't think the Celtics, in doing their investigation, were interviewing players and finding out, hey, did you see any women sneaking out of around Ime Udoka or anyone from the organization in some sort of inappropriate situation? I can't imagine them doing that, because I think that would be something that would be irresponsible on their part, unless they really wanted to go that far, unless it was something that was, again, I just don't think that was the case. I think a lot of these Celtics players found out the way we did. I'm sure they had their own group text or opinion on it, but they're not going to share that with us, and I didn't expect them to do that today.
Yeah, but I don't expect them to share it. But you would expect if they knew. Let's put it this way: like, how would you react? This is just humans here. It doesn't matter that they're players or what they. At the end, if we all knew and people were asking us questions, we'd be like, "What would be your answer?" My answer would be along the lines of like, obviously, if it rose to this level of punishment, they felt that there was a reason behind it, so we stand by the organization. That's if you knew it was really bad. If you know nothing, you're like, "Yeah, man, I don't know," and that's what they were like.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't completely stunned to find out that they didn't really hear much of it prior to us hearing of it, because if it really was a serious investigations with a law firm involved, private investigators, whatever you want to call it, then yeah, I can totally see how the players would be left out of that, because at that point you're trying to keep it as close to the vest and as quiet as you can. Now, how it got leaked out, I have no idea. It doesn't seem to make sense that the Celtics would have leaked it out. I don't know how it would have benefited them in any way. Clearly, they weren't prepared for it to leak out, because they sat on their thumbs all day, and they made a lot of people uncomfortable because of it, and people in the Celtics organization and whatnot. I'm a little surprised that they were still as clueless as they sounded today. I thought that
that's all. Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean,
They weren't
I thought that
at all. Yeah, even a line.
That's what I'm getting at is, you knew media day was Monday. You knew what came out on whatever it was, Thursday, and you had the weekend. If you're the front office, listen, I'm not saying the front office sits down. I'm not saying Brad and Wick sit down with the team and they go over the investigation page by page. But I think that there should have been, or if there was, it wasn't good enough. Some sort of meeting. Some sort of, here's the team. Let's get together. Listen, guys, we all need to band together here. We need to move forward. Yeah, some shit happened that we're still sorting through, but trust us that the punishment does fit the crime. Now, a lot of the players said they haven't spoken to Ime at all. Is that true or not? I don't know. I kind of find that hard to believe that they wouldn't have reached out.
I don't believe that.
Maybe they've been instructed again because it's an open investigation. Maybe they've been instructed for their own, stay out of it. Well-being that stay away. I just still find it hard to believe. I have a feeling that they're in some level of communication, at least just to say, hey coach, sorry to hear what's going on. We'll be in touch at a later date. That's how I would be for me.
Did it seem to you like they were instructed?
Jimmy would definitely send that text.
Did it seem to you like they'd been instructed? I've been in enough Patriots locker rooms to know what instructed sounds like.
Did you listen to Mac Jones today?
That's the same. That's instructed. Exactly.
The confused part, I feel like a lot of people are saying the same word. If that's what you're talking about, John, if they were instructed to say a certain phrase or something was drilled into their head, maybe the confused thing.
I don't think so. That's not what I would say.
No,
what do you mean?
It didn't seem like they were instructed to say anything. It just seemed like they were clueless.
Well, look, I'm sure everyone
has their theories. They're not going to throw them out there into the public in front of the media.
That's not what we're saying.
As a guy who is as a person who has been in a management role in different points in his career, the last thing I ever want to do is hear that my employees are confused, because that's an indictment on me. That means I have not filled you in enough. Nobody wants people in their organization to be confused. You want to give as much clarity as possible.
When they first found out, no? That's what they meant.
No,
most of them
now they're still confused. They're confused.
Yeah, that was
now.
the whole thing. I understand.
If you're the Celtics,
we still don't know how to feel. It's 48 hours, and we don't know anything.
That's what it is. There was nothing. It's nothing told me that they've gotten together and really sort of had a, as Jose would call it, uncomfortable conversation amongst themselves with the front office and things like that. Not so that everyone on the team is now involved in the situation in the investigation, but listen, you need to have a sense of unity. You need to have a sense of togetherness moving forward with who you got here. And yeah, maybe you want to have some of those questions answered, on your, whatever you want to do to get those questions answered. I'm not saying the Celtics answer them for you, but as John was saying, and as you guys were there today, it just seemed like nobody was, again, on the same page. Nobody's on the same page. And if you're a team, if you're a company, organization, you want to have like an underlying sort of message, unifying
Right.
mentality going into the season here. You don't want to be a group of individuals. We've seen that on the court too many times. You have to have a sense of team here.
And this is where we're stuck, because this is where we're hiding behind one thing. Not hiding behind. This is where the Celtics can, and the Patriots do this a lot. Well, we can't. Well, first of all, there's no investigation currently pending. This isn't a legal matter. There's no lawsuits. It was an internal investigation with the team. They're not bound. They're not yet.
Not yet, John.
At the moment,
that's what they're trying to avoid at all costs. But
I believe that that's the case, and that's fine. I understand protecting employees' privacy, but look at every investigation we've ever seen done into anything before. Okay, did the Robert Sarver investigation report just say he did some stuff? Trust me, it was bad. No, it's he did this. And then this, and then this, and then this. It's not saying to this person or to that person or to this. So without establishing at least a baseline of a pattern of behavior that was disturbing, that involved several different female employees and included harassment and X, Y, and Z, it's really hard. So you can protect privacy and not be so vague. And in everything else, Daniel Snyder, all of these things, when you hear and see what the investigations are, even the internal investigations, we did this and this is what it turned up. We found that you said this, 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 and that. They don't have to say names, but they've said nothing. And that's what's so if you said to the players, guys, we're not sharing publicly, but we feel you need to know this extends far beyond an inter-office romance. It involved incidents that included 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It got extremely bad. We had multiple people complaining. There was X, Y, Z, and then the players could be like,
allegedly. This is allegedly.
Allegedly, this is what our investigation, whatever. Then the players could be like, all right, that seems significant. I understand what we're doing here. That's obviously not something, but they didn't. It's just
it didn't seem like they had. And
we have suspended Ime Udoka.
Right. It didn't seem like, hey,
for violation of team rules.
Media days at noon, guys. I want everyone here at 10 today. We want to have a team meeting before media day, and get everybody up to speed on where we're at as an organization right now, what we can tell you, what we can't tell you, and here's what we think the standard responses should kind of be. But it almost felt like the players, you could sense their almost, I would say, dissatisfaction, obviously, with everything that's gone on.
I kind of wish I knew more. I knew more. I understand why, but I kind of wish I knew more, because it would help me. It would help me.
And you know what? I would also.
This.
But we feel the same, right? Like everybody feels exactly how they feel. I don't know how to fully feel without being able to fully comprehend the scope of things.
Right, but the difference is it's their company, quote unquote. It's their team. They're entitled to know more than we are.
Of course.
Coach. Exactly. So if they feel how we feel, that's a huge problem. Us, we can feel who the hell cares how we feel, right? I mean, we're entitled to not much.
No.
From the outside. But as far as they're concerned, I can see why they would be a little bit, I guess, perturbed in a way. That being said, I think some of these guys probably do know more than we all know. I would be stunned if they don't. I think that, depending on who you are within an organization, you can get answers pretty easily through the grapevine or whatever. So again, I think part of it is they're telling us what they, they're part of it is they know not to say anything. And I think the other part of it is they're still a little bit frustrated at what they have officially been told and have not been told.
They're frustrated with the process, how it was handled, I believe, and that it hit them this close to training camp with no warning. I mean, Smart today was talking about how he had been discussing tactical stuff with Udoka, and Ime came out to see him in LA. And some of these quotes from this thing, you're right, Jimmy, there's probably a little bit more than they know, than they let on. But the amount of frustration and I think sympathy for even what we were asking here today, no one was frustrated with the questions, John. Everyone kind of understood, all the players, where we were coming from, because they're in the same place. I mean, some of the stuff that got said today, Marcus Smart saying it's been hell for us.
And again,
we don't really know anything.
You're not talking about salacious details here. You're talking about some transparency into the scope of why, and the magnitude of something.
And the severity.
It goes beyond I know you guys have heard relationship. It goes far beyond that. What we found was very
disturbing.
There
are ways to be more transparent.
You can say
than they
what
have
we
been.
found was disturbing. It involved multiple incidents. And X, Y, and Z. That's it. You don't have to say he did this to that. You can find a way to fill them in somehow. and make them feel. What do players always say when it comes to coaches or when it comes to management, in terms of how they want to be treated? They want to be treated like men. They want to be treated like adults,
Right.
And when you're clearly at the kiddie table and on a need to know basis, even if there's good justifications for why, you feel crappy. And again, Jimmy, we've worked in corporate environments before when there's a big brouhaha and then you find out at the same time, then, Chad Finn puts it out there and you're like, oh, what? And that's happened places.
Yeah.
And you're like, there's been people who've worked places before and had something published and be like, someone could have told us something. You understand why they didn't, but at the same time, you're like, I guess that's what they think of me, that I can't be trusted. I'm not in the inner circle. I can't deal with this type of information. And so I guess I'm just going to, whatever, I guess that's what it is. And then you go scrambling looking for answers. And it's very,
Right. Well, you also have, other media members, former players from on the outside, whether they're tweeting things, posting videos of things, acting like they know more than, everybody else seems to know. And I bet you players see that too, obviously. And then like, well, what the hell is this all about? So now they're wondering, is there more that I don't know? And there's just questions, just more and more questions that they're not going to get answers to. And obviously you understand the Celtics can't give those answers out. It puts everybody in a tough situation. What I really want to see or hear at some point is that, a player is sort of stepping up, whether it's Horford, whether it's Smart, God forbid Tatum and Brown, take on a leadership role here and really sort of rally the troops, get everyone together and move forward here. Whether it's Joe Mazzulla, maybe that's his, sort of coming out thing that he does to, sort of establish some leadership here. But again, we can't go all season talking about Ime. We can't even go the next few weeks talking about Ime, if you're the Celtics, because it's just such a distraction. That's what my concern was last week. I was like, how do you not just fire this guy if it's that bad? Because it's going to end up being just a crazy distraction. Even next year, if he comes back after a year, it's still going to be a crazy distraction too.
No matter what, there has to be something between protecting privacy, protecting Ime, protecting everything, and also providing enough transparency to make the players feel at least have a comprehension and understanding of why you did what you did, because it affects them the most. And because they're affected the most, they deserve something more than total darkness. That's all.
The other thing is this, real quick,
go ahead, Jimmy.
Just real quick, we look at it as, coach of the Celtics, X's and O's, blah, blah, blah. A coach-player relationship can get very close, even after a year. I mean, this is a coach that came in and the players picked him essentially to be their coach. They obviously had a connection with him. And now just like that, boom, he's gone out of the picture. It's almost like a death in a way, right? You have somebody who's in your life just like that. There's no reason for him. There was no reason to think that he was not going to be in the picture moving forward. And now these guys have to adjust to that. It's a huge bummer. If somebody that maybe they were looking up to, as a typical coach, you would, if you're a coach, you want your players to look up to you. And that's part of the success that you have as a coach, not just at the professional level, but college, high school, all the way down the line. To lose that, I'm sure they're still adjusting to that, So yeah,
it's unprecedented.
Yeah.
Malcolm was talking today, Josue, about how he's been through coaching changes and this happened. This isn't normal. They just made the finals, instituted a system, built that bond, as Jimmy said, and now it's gone. That is a major factor this year. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but there's a world where this derails them. I mean, the accountability, the voice, the guy who pushed them through those downs toward the ups, there's no telling that Mazzulla is going to be able to do the same.
It's not
thing.
just that. You also you feel like, and again, if this
is it a player front office thing at that point?
This is why it's so important they're on board with the decision and ready to move forward in the same direction as the team, because if there's any doubt in their head right now, you're going to get an adversarial relationship between players and management, which is, you took my coach away, left me with this shit, and now our season is gone, up in smoke, and it's a freaking disaster. And I don't know whether that needed to happen. You're taking a year away from me, okay? I'm trying to build something. I'm trying to do something here. You've got Jaylen Brown 2 years away from free agency thinking, I'm getting out of this S show here. I don't give a crap who they bring in. I don't trust it. I don't trust these guys anymore. If you lose trust, in the organization, you're dead.
Wasn't that one of Mazzulla's big words today?
They are dead.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a big.
That was
big,
our main
big
point
problem.
last week. That's the first thing we said concerned us is how do the players feel about this? Never mind players on the outside. Never mind trying to get a free agent in here. But how about the players who are already here? How are they gonna feel when Jaylen Brown's up for renewal? Is he gonna be like, yeah, I'm good, thanks?
Yeah, and whether it's right or not, whether they're entitled to answers or not, whether they should be given them or whether the Celtics are within their right, it's created an environment where there are some people who might be like, these guys don't know what the F they're doing. That nobody tells anybody anything. I don't trust it anymore. So it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And again, it's not an elegant situation where there's a clear answer. They should have done this. When you listened to them today, it just felt like they wanted a little more so they could figure out how to feel.
Right, but I also think that's why going with Joe Mazzulla right now is the best option. I mean, a lot of these guys are saying nothing but great things about him. They're familiar with him. You know, he's
what are they gonna say?
His coaching staff. So of course, you know, Brad Stevens is big on him. So I think that was none of this is ideal, right? This whole entire situation. But at the same time, I think that's the biggest reason why you go with him, with that someone that these guys are familiar with, and at the same time that they trust, you know, at a certain level. Now, this upcoming week, obviously, is going to be a lot, you know, going on between teammates, and I'm sure conversations, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things out in the open. But this is that time for them to readjust and just do their best with this situation. I think that was also one of the biggest talking points from today was just trying to make this as smooth as possible. And Mazzulla is the guy that these guys trust the most.
But so again, just using the trusting, that's why I asked the questions I asked today of both Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, given the scarcity of details and obviously the desire for the Celtics to protect people's privacies, which we all understand and appreciate and get, you know, does it make it difficult to, you know, kind of reconcile what's gone on here and get on board with the team and trust in their decision? I use the word trust. And neither Jaylen nor Marcus said yes, like saying, yeah, no, we trust them, because it could go both ways, right? You could not know the details. Would it not have been shocking if there was at least one answer today and say, look, I don't believe this, because this was my initial take. I don't believe anybody in this organization wanted Ime Udoka to not be the coach this year. So obviously, if something happened that resulted in him being suspended for a year, they had to feel it was pretty significant.
Grant came closest to that.
So I'm gonna respect and understand management's decision, knowing that it was probably a very difficult one, given the fact that we all love Ime and everybody wanted him to be the coach. That, by the way, is a coached answer, and that's the answer everyone should have given. Okay, right. If they were coached or if they were on board, but none of them did, not one. So one, I don't think they were coached very much, and two, nobody said that, which means nobody, because that's a natural reaction. Dude, if they're going to bang him a year, got to be bad, right? Somebody could have said something along those lines, but nobody did.
Yeah, and again,
they want to be careful, just like we've been careful.
I get it, but
John, here's a question: Who tells them what to say? Who tells them what to say? Who tells them what to say? Brad Stevens, he's on the other side of the investigation. I mean, who can even talk to these players and tell them what to say? I guess twists. I don't know. Like, what if you're on one side of the organization, you can't really try to frame the news to go in a certain way. I mean, there's a messaging thing. Allowed.
We're not in that room, Jimmy. We don't know if Brad said all those things and they still felt that way, and he might have. So you're right. I don't know, but I mean, is there a way? Is there a way Brad could have said something along the lines of exactly that to them, so maybe they think it and feel it also? Which is, this isn't the thing we wanted to have happen, you know? Nobody gave, and somebody just said it here, not a single person gave the organization the benefit of the doubt here, which is surprising and also telling to me.
And this happened. You use these analogies of work and life and everything else, John. When someone in like a powerful position sits behind privacy or investigation or one of these things, and there's like a real human connection there, that can cause some distrust for sure. And Brad, that's an interesting guy to bring up here. Yes, Jimmy, he's on the other side of this investigation and process here, but he's also these guys' former coach, and he has relationships with all these players, and there's a matter of trust that he's going to have to maintain. He could be that bridge between the organization and them at this moment. at least say something. It doesn't even have to be something all that substantive. It just feels like to them, to find out on Twitter, as Tatum said, and other guys kind of echoed. Grant almost said it too before he kind of held back and was like, all right, I'm not going to slam them again for this one. These guys do not like how this was handled. That was very clear today. You always see players hold back when it comes to talking about the team, or maybe things not going well, or, you know, any matter of things going wrong, because they don't want to feed into that. You know, they don't want the noise to keep growing and more questions to come. In this climate, more than anything else, and John, you guys have covered teams a lot longer than I have never seen players interacting with the media in a more like sympathetic way. Like, yeah, you guys have no clue what's going on. We feel you. I wish we did too. Maybe someone could answer some of our questions as well.
Yeah.
And again, there's no perfect way to do this. The Celtics certainly didn't have a playbook for this, as Wick said. But it was not handled well this week. I don't know how it could have been handled better. And you do have concerns about how it's going to possibly linger here. And this brings me to something Josue and I talked about in one of our videos that's going to be coming out. Does this kind of go back to the possibility of why maybe Wick thought Brad should step in this moment, or, you know, why some people feel that way in general? Does he kind of have to be that stabilizing force right now, who's in the room, who's around these guys, Brad, at all times, reassuring them?
Stabilizing force.
No, 'cause
Bobby,
he didn't
did you
do that
watch
last
the rest of the season that he coached?
Brad being around
Again,
them
it's
was,
Brad or
was
Mazzulla.
Brad being around them was destabilizing, and now Brad is the man.
But it's a different time, John.
So Brad is the man. He's on the other side of it. He's deciding to trade you, not pay you, you know, this and that. He is not your friend anymore. Brad is not that guy. He cannot. He can't be. By definition, just
dynamic you can't do.
The dynamic's not there. It doesn't matter that he once was. He's not anymore. He has to he has to take the 30,000-foot view when it comes to these guys, because he has to be dispassionate when he makes decisions about them. He can't be in there like.
But where are you at on Joe
now?
Them feel good. You think that's the right choice?
I don't care about Joe, because meaning there's two ways this works. Joe. No, meaning I don't care if it's Joe or someone else. You've opened the possibility. We'll see, right? We didn't know how Udoka would be, but what we liked about Udoka was he was picked by the players and endorsed. Joe Mazzulla has been dropped. He
certainly got that today, didn't he? He got some endorsements for sure.
So he got some, but what are you going to say? Of course they're going to say that. Of course you're going to say that. You're not.
But we've heard them say that before about him, so it kind of falls.
I don't care. You're always going to say stuff like that about your assistants. Everybody loves their assistant coaches. They're your buddies. They're almost as close as they are to players as they are coaches. The relationship is totally different, particularly a guy that age that actually is close to their age. It's easy to like Joe Mazzulla. It's difficult to determine whether he's going to be a good coach. That's beside the point to me. The issue is if they come out of the gates, if they're not 100% on board with Ime having been suspended, and what management did, and they come out of the gate and they start to fumble and stumble, and Mazzulla's clearly in a little bit over his head, there's going to be resentment.
Yeah. Definitely.
They'll second guess the decision. If Mazzulla's great, they'll be like, who cares? What have you done for me lately? It's very easy for Ime to be forgotten. If they come out of the gate and they freaking love him, awesome. If they have hiccups along the way, it's going to turn into it's going to create a rancorous situation, you know, vis-a-vis players and management.
Well, there's a leadership gap right now, right? And there already was. That was one of our discussions all last year. I don't want to do the captain thing again, but who is the leader of this team right now? Because Mazzulla is very clearly going to take a passive approach to this, right? He previewed that today. He's going to lean on the players and, you know, what they've done here and what Ime did. So it's sort of on the players to build that leadership structure themselves. And Udoka had a heavy hand in it last year, certainly. I think we'd all agree that he was the leader last year, right? So one of the little lines from today, and again, I'm sure we're going to have these discussions. Derek White called Al the leader of the team, and, you know, who's going to actually, does Smart feel like he's the leader of this team? And you got Tatum at the top, and how much is he going to embrace that leadership role? We're back to that again, right? And it's more important than ever before, because I think we all agree Mazzulla is going to take a pretty passive approach to this, and it's going to be the players leading the way.
Yeah, and that's a good thing for these guys, right? I think something like this could galvanize them.
I hate
what they went through last year. I know, John. I know it's positivity.
It's by committee.
No, the players taking charge. We tried that. Not the guys last year who nobody wanted to be captain are going to take charge this year. Come on,
John. You have that the core of this team. They learned a valuable lesson last year. You know, the way they turned this thing around. The way I'm not saying that can happen again. but you have to take that into stride going into this season. And with this going on, you have to, as a group say, look, we can succeed because we've learned enough from last season and we've learned from our mistakes and we're ready to look. It's not going to be, even before Ime, this whole thing happened, I didn't have this at the top of the East. Are they going to be one of the contenders? Absolutely. Of course, they have a chance to get back into the NBA Finals, but it's going to be tough. So that's in place regardless. But at the same time, you have to remember that this team, they've been through a lot. In terms of being leaders, they can do that. However, when it comes to X's and O's and late game execution, that's yet to be seen. That's something that they're going to have to – that's going to take some time.
Well, remember how much they needed reminders, Josue?
But you want to see how this team works as a group. Like Joe Mazzulla said, it's not going to be – it'll be less about the wins and losses, but, it'll be more about how they look as a group and how this whole thing comes together, because it's not going to be – it's not going to look –
What about this team over the last 2 years makes you think that they can self-motivate? They completely quit on Brad.
And you may have to call them a-holes.
He may have to call them a-holes, and it took them 45 games to get crap together, and then they're still in and out during the playoffs. They're skipping finals games effort-wise. Are you kidding me? The last thing I want, I'm sorry.
Now they're pouting.
Yes. And now they're pouting. The last thing I want is the idea that the players are going to police themselves and show accountability and rise up above us. I'm sorry. They need that voice, and Ime was that voice. And again, this isn't a justification for keeping Ime around. It's just a problem that they're facing right now. Unless Mazzulla comes in and is closer to what Ime was, which is tough and direct. And it's my system, and you got to do it my way. I do not want happy fun time. You guys, you're the players. I want you to empower yourselves. I don't want that.
Out of the gates, though. That has to happen gradually. You can't just be like, all right, I'm the guy in charge now. The assistant who wasn't calling the shots. Well, now he's not gonna do that at first, but he could. Look, I just don't think.
I want him to come in and right out of the gate establish his presence.
If the season is a success, who's gonna get more credit? Joe Mazzulla or the players, or guys like Tatum and Brown?
I'll give a lot to Joe because we gave a lot to Ime. Did we not question Ime in the beginning?
But this is different though, because
the first time
they're going to say
we not question Ime for this. We did though, right? In the early going when this stuff was happening on, we're like, what is he doing? Is he going to step in at some point? He was letting stuff play out, and we were like, they kind of brought you in to be the heavy here, and he wasn't doing it, and it was like, okay, I just don't want to go through it again.
Right, Joe has that playbook though.
I think Ime and the Celtics will get more credit, honestly.
I don't know. What do you guys think? What, Jimmy, you agree with Josue here?
No.
On the players?
I don't agree. No, I don't agree. So
what, you think he'll be regarded as one of the best coaches in the NBA? This thing is a success.
No, wait. What am I disagreeing with? What I'm disagreeing with is that I am not pumped that it becomes the players' own, it's up to the players now to motivate themselves and become. Again, it's because I haven't seen it. So until I see it, I don't believe it. And it certainly isn't the way I want to find out. I do think Ime had to really coach these guys into playing the defensive way that they were playing in the second half of the year. I think that he had to really motivate them. And it took them really sucking. Sure, everyone has to have some level of self-motivation, of course. I mean, anybody waking up early and going to the gym and doing all those things, they have to have some level of self-motivation. But from a team perspective, Ime was, in my opinion, the reason they got to the level that they got. So now with him out of the picture, you're talking about a team that won a majority of its games because of the defense that they were playing. I know that they also improved on the offensive side of things at that time, but their defense was turning them. The defense led to offense, and that's in a lot of those situations. So now it's like, can we expect that same level of tenacity on the defensive end without the same guy screaming at them from the sidelines or coaching them, at halftime or, during practices? Can we expect that? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. What I said earlier was that if there is somebody who I can see step into that leadership role and that vocal role and do that, it's Marcus Smart. My only concern is that he won't get Tatum and Brown to sort of buy into him in that role. That's what I'm a little bit hesitant to buy in. Now, I think Marcus Smart's capable of it. I just don't know if Brown and Tatum are going to buy into that.
Well, Jimmy, they are young. They're only in their 7th and 6th seasons, respectively.
Yeah, right.
So, they're still kids, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I don't have a lot of doubt about the X's and O's. Again, if this
I
guy's
don't
becoming
either.
the head
That's not
coach
what
of
it's
the
about.
team, yeah, he's got the playbook. They're going to do the same stuff as last year on the floor. Now, the other aspect of this that we can't separate is that it looks like Rob's going to be gone for a long time. And even though there's a lot of interchangeability to this, that's going to be a major factor in terms of how they play and how deep they are and all that different kind of stuff. So you can't separate those things.
Well, we'll transition a little bit to Rob, but I do think there's a mess here, whether it's entirely created by the Celtics, whether they could have done more, whether they still can do more. And it's possible that they realize.
By the way, we didn't say it, John, but it's on Ime at the end of the day, right?
I'm glad you said that. I was trying to get to that too.
Yeah. We didn't say it the last 40 minutes because I think we're trying to shift the focus a little bit.
Of course.
But at the end of the day, it's on Ime. Like, come on, finals, and especially with how much he stressed accountability. That I
agree though. I mean, at the end of the day, he put everybody in the position that they're in. Do you think the Celtics
killed this team?
Do you think the Celtics were prepared for this situation? Of course not. They don't have something ready to go. They don't have statements ready to be made and interviews and the right things ready to be said. This obviously came out, whenever it did, whether it was the summer when they first heard or whenever the news broke. Nobody expected to be in this situation a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever.
But that's not. Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, we're talking about how annoyed the Celtics are today and how they're pissed at the team probably, and they're all left in the dark. There's probably a part of that they're pissed at Ime too. They're not going to go out there and call the guy out like that, but I'm sure that a lot of their disappointment, or at least some of their disappointment, falls to Ime letting them down. Whether or not you agree with the punishment or not, he let them down. We know that he did something wrong.
I think that's a given, and I think we're just almost putting it in its own bucket. It's a situation which, again, we're not entirely sure the severity or the magnitude of it, but it's a situation entirely born, of an entirely Ime Udoka's responsibility, and so that's a given, and I think just exists over here. All we're talking about right now is we're just talking about crisis management and fallout and what the effects would be. It's not pointing fingers. It's saying, can you be better? Can you get across? Can you get it across to the players? Are you doing what you need to do here to kind of put them in the best position to get through and get over this? And if the answer to those questions are no, then you got to figure out what can I do differently here. Mm-hmm. But there's no question that this situation began with one man. Again, without fully knowing exactly what he did, yes, he bears a lion's share of responsibility for all of it, but it's a reality now. You can't get past it. So now they just got to figure out how to deal with it. So we are going to talk about some of the other things that came out from Media Day today.
What else happened? All three of you guys were there today. Is that correct?
We were all there.
It's pretty good. Pretty well represented at the Garden Report today.
We took some shots here. First, we want to tell you a little bit about our one of our terrific sponsors. Let me pull it up.
Athletic Greens.
Athletic Greens, guys. We love that, right?
athleticgreens.com/garden.
Every morning.
Free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase.
That's just the deal. Yeah.
That's just the deal. Right.
We all take Athletic Greens. We use it literally every day. It's as we said, kind of a one-stop shopping, 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, probiotics, help you start your day right. Special blend of ingredients supports gut health, nervous system, immune system, energy, recovery, focus, aging, literally everything that you're trying to do. You're probably taking a million different supplements to do it. So, as I said, everybody on the Garden Report is a regular customer. A lot of you guys here, I know, because many of you have sent me messages showing me that you have purchased. So I appreciate those of you who have. I'll ask anyone else who hasn't. At least check it out. Jump on the website. Think about it. Give it a try. If any of you have started using it and you're in the chat right now, let us know what you think. I am curious. Lifestyle friendly, diet friendly, supports better sleep quality and recovery, mental clarity and alertness. And as Jimmy said, the deal is right there. Massively endorsed product, by the way. We're talking about like nearly 10,000 5-star reviews, recommended by professional athletes, leading medical experts, it's celebrities, what have you. So again, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Just one scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. 1-year supply, immune supporting vitamin D, and 5 free travel packs with your purchase. athleticgreens.com/garden. Once again, athleticgreens.com/garden. Make sure you purchase it through that URL to get the deal. And then DM me your receipt, your name, your address, your shirt size for a phenomenal t-shirt. We are sending them out this week, the first batch. We've got about almost like a dozen, I think, so far of you have jumped on and purchased here, which is great. Just in the last couple of weeks, which is terrific. But please check it out. Really a terrific product. So, guys, let's get into it. You want to put a bow here on the media day on the email stuff before we move on?
My bow is I've said all I need to say. I mean, I think we're all in the same. I think we've all landed in the same spot, to be honest, with just the overall, reaction to today from the players. Overall, it seems like just disappointment from the players on all levels, from every angle. It doesn't seem like, again, we said last week, there's no silver lining here. Anywhere you look at it, it's bad for every side involved, and that now includes the players. We got our first at their live reactions or their reactions to the news over last week, and it's pretty clear that there's some open wounds here that need to be healed, and we don't have much time, really.
Yeah,
the season starts soon, and these guys gotta move forward.
And I am
game
gonna
number 1 on Sunday.
I am gonna put it the same way. Like this, while they looked disappointed, sad, upset, confused, all of those things, kind of bummed out. Like, it may not be in a finger pointing sort of way. They may not be mad or questioning things. It might just be that, it rained on my birthday and we were going to have a moon bounce outside and now we can't. Like, it sucks that I can't have it, but there's nothing you can do. It rained, So that's it. But the kids, you're still going to be depressed. You're still going to be bummed out. They liked their coach. They had their coach. They went to the finals. They don't have their coach anymore. So I understand why they'd be down in general. It's just whether or not that trust issue.
By the way, for people in the Boston area, and I know all our viewers aren't Boston people, Mazzulla's nickname cannot be Maz.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not going to work.
Yeah.
There's only one Maz.
There's only one Maz. Yeah. Right.
That's your bow, Bobby? Good bow. Way to put a bow on it, Bobby.
Well, people do dumb shit like that all the time, like starting calling LaDainian Tomlinson LT. Like, the best football player who ever played
stuck.
The best player who ever played already is called LT. What are you doing?
I know. That's true, John. That's true. But
insane to me.
Yeah,
different era. Different era.
Though. Come on. There is an LT, and he's amazing.
Hey, there was an LBJ before LeBron.
No, there wasn't, Bobby. Anyway, let's move on. One of the other things we were interested in hearing from, and again, if there wasn't the Ime situation, we'd be heavy in on Rob. Why so late? What the hell happened? Why didn't he get the surgery earlier? Did you screw him up for good? And I think the coaches would have been drilled. Brad would have been drilled over that. Brad never got asked what happened here. We have no idea if Rob was on the same page with management. Rob's very raw. And that's the whole thing. We never got to find out here. We just kind of got to ask Rob about it. Rob's very Rob. He's so frigging just so interesting. He just enters the room with his twist, and like everybody just kind of like lights up. He's just like this guy. You just want to like him. But like, he got pressed a little bit today. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what happened this offseason? Why did it take so long? And one of the other questions was, did you rush back and did you cost yourself as a result? And here was Rob's answer.
You mentioned that it was your decision to come back last year in the playoffs, and obviously you were battling something, and you had to rest and keep it together. Are you still solid in that decision or decision to have come back? Are you worried at all that it might?
Who's asking this question?
Nah, I'm stuck. I played
Clown
in the
time.
finals, man. You know what I'm saying? You win some, you lose some, but I don't regret my decision at all. I was 24 years old. My dreams were playing the finals, dog. Can't regret this shit.
Are you worried at all? It's one of the reasons why you had a kind of slower recovery period over the offseason as a result of the surgery now?
If that is the case, I feel like that to my first answer. Like I said, I made that decision, man. So it is what it is.
Translation. That's cool, but do you think that was smart, Rob?
No, we get it. You wanted to play in the finals, but
that's what John was saying with that follow-up.
So anyway,
yeah, but you do know what you've done, right?
right.
right.
We've made a mess here, Rob. Who's going to clean this up? So, look, that was what he kept coming back to. So we don't know. We still don't have answers to the question on, was he on the same page with the team? Did he rush the recovery? Was it the right type of surgery? Did he do what he was supposed to do in the offseason? Should he have found out earlier that he was hurt? You know, he just kind of said I wanted to play. I wanted to come back early. I wanted to shut it down this offseason, and that's that. But we have no idea if that was in lockstep with anything that the organization wanted, and we have no idea why we found out this late in the game that he needed arthroscopic surgery. And the other thing that he said was, are you confident after this surgery you'll be done with it? He's like, I don't know. You know, you can always get injured again. It's like, I don't want to hear that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. What'd you guys get out of Rob? I mean, again, it wasn't a lot. He kind of kept saying the same things, but
I'm worried.
Well, that's
Reoccurring
right.
injury.
He's gonna be open. You know, he's gonna show that. At the same time, he knows that it could go south. But like he said, I don't see any regrets, and I'm sure that he was on the same page as the organization. You know, or maybe I shouldn't assume that, but you have to going into that series. I mean, we all talked about it. The Celtics, that they had a chance to beat the Warriors, they needed that impact from Rob, even if it was a limited Rob. So I'm sure they were on the same page, but at the same time, you know, Rob's just going to be honest with you. You know, he's going to be open, and he's going to give you his honest thought and his honest opinion. And even if this thing goes south, I just don't see him regretting it. But at the same time, you don't want to see that this season. So we'll see how he responds. We just have to wait and see.
It always seems when injuries go wrong that there's something nefarious or devious going on. I mean, the message they sent the whole way throughout the summer, we were sharing all the different reports that came out, John, throughout the summer months here. There was no risk, that long-term risk from having played, and he'll be ready to go, and he's doing workouts, and it's full speed ahead for Rob. And then it just turned on a dime one day. So that's where you get confused here for sure. But at the end of the day, he suffered an injury in March. They went with the treatment plan, and was that the best for him long term? We still don't know if it was possible to do the surgery that was in his best long-term interest there. So there's a lot of questions we'll just never be able to answer on this front. What we do know, though, is that this is an injury that has damaged guys long-term. Rob said today it's reoccurring. And now we're talking about like bones need to be removed, and the way they described that surgery just didn't sound good. And the time frame about doubled from what was originally reported here. This is terrifying, not only for this season, but for his long-term health. Like, is he ever going to be able to get completely right from this? You have to start asking that question now. And I don't think, did he give like any indication today that he's feeling good long-term, that he'll be all right? Like, he's saying, I got to get right. But how long is that going to take? Is it going to be even possible? Or is this just going to keep coming up, and it's going to be a process of dealing with it for him? If we've seen Rob at his best, at his healthiest at this point, that's devastating. And what are you going to do, right? Because we want him to get back. He gave the team a chance to win a championship through those efforts of getting back. I don't think it's fair to completely knock him for that, especially when we challenge kind of his ability to get on the floor and pay through pain and all that stuff before. It's just really unfortunate what's happened here, and it's gonna kill this team.
Yikes, Bobby!
Wow.
I mean, you got one.
Wow.
Bobby
I
took
need a
like
minute.
extra large dose of Xanax meds before.
Bobby
with
the ether take there. So I guess
You
you
have
should just fold up the show now too.
You have one reliable center right now.
The
who's
guard
kinda
report is
proven himself
canceled.
at that spot.
Season's over. Bobby, you saying the season's over?
I think it remains to be seen.
Bobby sigh. Wow.
This
The
is
Celtics
flip-flop
might
Bobby.
the Celtics might be this year's Nets, by the way.
No, they're really, really good.
Ooh.
They're really, really good.
Yeah,
They're gonna have to prove they're
I said
contenders
it.
again.
I said
Hey,
it.
Josue even
Uncalled
said
for.
they're not the favorite in the East anymore. It's
I know.
amazing to me that they're still kind of that betting favorite right now.
Well, the East is wide open,
yeah.
man. That's probably why.
Vegas still likes him.
We don't know what to expect with a lot of these teams.
How do you guys
Philly-
feel about Rob's ability to get back?
I don't feel good about it at all. I mean, again, it goes back to the reason this guy's such a freak is because what he can do, you know, jumping out of the building and his ability to block shots and get up, and he's a chess piece out there in the court. If he's even at 75%, he becomes just more of a normal big man. And you know, he doesn't have an outside shot, so he's already limited on the offensive end in that respect. So yeah, of course I'm a little concerned about it. I mean, I'll give him I'll wait and see how he looks when he does come back, but certainly I'm not expecting him back anytime. I mean, whatever they said, what did they say, 8 to 12 weeks? I would put it at 12 plus before we see
Christmas
him.
time.
Yeah,
8 to 12 before it's basketball activity. So we know it's not.
Yeah, basketball.
We know it's not great. It's just a
and
matter
there's
of
gonna be
like,
minute restriction, right? And then there's all this other stuff. So
Right.
again, like as John said, I
They're
think
going to
last
the
week, we might not see Rob. We might not see Rob this year, and if we do, again, it might be limited minutes, kind of almost like a shell of what we've seen in the past. So again, I know this is a doom and gloom episode, but geez, I mean, give us something good to talk about, and we will.
Hey, on the other hand,
someone tweeted me that he's gonna come back just in time for his next surgery.
Yeah, seriously.
On the other hand,
he's gonna hit his games played goal of 30 games.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Al did seem super motivated today to fill that gap, and man, does he look great physically. He's in even better shape than last year. It seems like
Al looks amazing. Yeah, Al looks amazing.
He's intent on playing these back to back.
Another 5 years younger. He's unreal.
Yeah. So utmost confidence in him, right? It's just who's that backup right now? Luke talked today. Sounded confident.
Give us your Luke take. Give us your Luke
take.
take.
Oh, come on.
All right.
Fine.
Jokey.
Bobby gets a Luke minute, and then we'll move on.
Luke minute. Go. You have 60 seconds.
I felt good about Luke. Not great yet, but I feel good about him filling some minutes.
Do you feel like tingly?
Not so defensive.
You have these three guys, right?
We're gonna call it. I'm gonna make a graphic. We're gonna call it Kornet Corner, and Bobby's
we're gonna get one every night, right? Because he's gonna
Bobby's
play.
Gonna get a little minute in Kornet Corner, and to get to talk about.
You have to put like a graphic over his box.
It'll be like an apology cam. It'll be like a Kornet Corner. Yeah.
The thing I like about their depth chart right now at big is if you go against some small teams, you have Grant who can slide in there. And he even defended Bam in those East Finals. So we've seen him defend centers before. You have Kornet for some of those teams that probably aren't as much of a shooting threat that you want to take the pain away from. And then Kabengele, I generally like that move from the start. So if you need a banger, a guy who's going up against some of those bigger guys.
Can I tell you the funniest thing? ESPN, not like they're the authority on things, but they did a graphic after the Rob Williams story of like other Celtics big men to fill it, and they had like 6 names out there, and Kabengele wasn't even on it. They just didn't even acknowledge that he was alive.
Well, this is the thing, and people are getting so caught up.
But here, Celtics are like, "Oh, okay, he's gonna be good." I'm like, "Come on, guys!"
I'm waiting for a commenter to say, "Who is Kevin Gelly?"
Well, I think
like they did with what's
Kevin
Herman Gomez and Kevin Gelly.
Yeah, so Kevin Gelly is our new Herman Gomez.
That's great.
But everyone looks at the free agent list right now and they're like, "Ooh, Blake, Aldrich, Dwight, Whiteside, bring these guys in." These guys stink at this point. Like, they would not be able to get on the court for this team, I don't think. Many of them. Now, Whiteside, we could probably debate, but those guys at this point in their careers are legitimately comparable to the guys the Celtics have on their bench right now, especially Grant, who's probably a leg up on all of them. Now, is Grant physically ready to move back inside? I'm interested to see that. Grant has a huge role on this team.
I know, but Grant was talking about, like, I did a bunch of things that, like, I should do to be a better wing player. And they're like, by the way, everything he said and all of the stuff he worked on this offseason, going to the basket, shooting on the run, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. It was all the type of stuff you would do from the 3 or the stretch 4, not from friggin' sticking your ass in the paint and being a backup center, which is what, congrats, Grant. That's what you get to be for the first 40 games of the year.
Yeah.
He's going to have to do a little bit of everything and shoot 40% from 3 again.
But I lost all this weight and worked on my shot. Whatever. You're a center. Go eat some cheeseburgers. That's where he's at right now.
Who got the Media Day MVP today? Who were you guys most impressed with? And I don't know what other
Smart was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought Smart was great.
Good.
Pretty honest. Just about everything, but like just his perspective, not emotional at all. Jalen was just, I was shocked at like how affected he was by it all. His was raw,
right.
I thought Smart was together.
Horford, as always.
We have to remember
Horford, as always, sounds ready to lead.
Yeah, someone in the comments just brought up. Sorry.
A big storyline going into this would be about the Kevin Durant trade rumors, which he did address.
Yeah.
And he said that he did speak to his teammates and the organization. I thought that was interesting. He was sort of open about that, but yeah, that's something that I think would have been talked about more going into this. If if there was no email,
that would have been a big one. Yeah,
suspension.
I thought Grant was amazing too, but anyway.
What about
Kornet and Rob brought the laughs.
Yeah.
What about our new guy there, Brogdon? A lot of people in the comments are saying Brogdon.
Solid dude.
Guys think of him?
Yeah, I like what he had to say about Marcus. I asked him. He talked about
that was a good question.
Someone that he used to always talk to after the game. Someone that he's had conversations with, and he thinks that they could be the best backcourt in the Eastern Conference, or in the NBA, excuse me. So
problem with Brogdon was
backcourt in the NBA.
Gotcha.
Problem with Brogdon was all about placement. He led off as a player, and nobody wanted to talk to him because he wasn't here and he doesn't have Ime perspective. So it was kind of like you went through the motions of a bunch of Malcolm Brogdon questions when everybody was really in there, kind of juiced up to get player reaction to Udoka. So it was almost kind of like, let's just hustle through this and talk to Jalen and Jason and Marcus, who I think were the people that you really wanted to get their perspective on things.
Was it everything in just a room?
Really hot room with no order. And just thankfully there weren't huge gaps between them, but it was just one small room.
The days of like going on the practice facility court for media day, those days are gone.
They do it there because they've been doing it in this spot because that's where they do the promo shoots, and NBC has all of their gear there, and they set up their interviews. And they got that white backdrop, so it's a studio, and that's why they do it there. But one thing we're going to talk about non-media day related is involving a player who it's been rumored may be coming back here, but back to Boston. But first, we want to tell you about our other terrific sponsor, Calm. And as we said, you take Athletic Greens in the morning, Calm at night. Soon after this podcast, go, when you're ready to go to bed, check out Calm. Again, this is another one that we all use here. It's a sleep and meditation app. It's a great thing to do right before you go to bed. We've partnered with Calm. It's a #1 wellness app. It's going to give you the tools that'll improve the way you feel, helps you reduce stress and anxiety through guided meditations. You can improve focus with curated music tracks, rest and recharge with really nice sleep stories that they update all the time for kids and adults, new daily movement sessions designed to relax your body and uplift your mind. So go to calm.com/garden, 40% off. This is an amazing deal, by the way. 40% off a premium subscription. Over 100 million people around the world use it. Calm is ready to help you stress less, sleep more, live a happy or healthier life. And again, this is an amazing discount. We never get discounts like this with our advertising partners. 40% off. It's well worth it. You'll be surprised how little you actually have to pay for a year's worth subscription, and you'll be thrilled that you did it. And we send you a phenomenal T-shirt with Calm as well. Yep.
Yeah.
We're just throwing them everywhere. I see people in the chat want one bad. Go get Calm. That's an easy way to get it.
You want the T-shirt? Again, I could charge you for the T-shirt, or you can pay just a little bit more than that. Support one of our sponsors. It's a win-win. So check it out. Honestly,
Calm's great, man.
You want to, and it's great. It's great. Real quick, we do want to talk about one thing. There's another little story floating around there today. Bizarre situation.
This one's so weird.
Bizarre situation in Phoenix. Jae Crowder was told, you may not start this year, and he just pulls the goalie in slap shot. Trade me right now,
He made like a documentary for his IG page.
What that?
Yeah. Trade me right fucking now, and then hang up.
Twitter fingers. It was all.
Hang up. But
it's kind of like, and it's almost like not that surprising to hear this coming from Jae Crowder, though, right? I mean, this is a guy that's super emotional.
All caps.
All caps.
It does sound like that Hayward story again, right?
I know. He's like, they cheered. They
was,
cheered for Gordon Hayward. I quit. So,
yeah.
First of all, I love the idea of Jae Crowder being exactly the type of player you need for wing depth. If you could have said, bring me a guy this offseason to help spell those guys, be a 3-and-D guy, energy, grit, do everything you want to do that's going to fit with the system, I'd be like, Jae Crowder, Jae Crowder, Jae Crowder, Jae Crowder. I don't want this version of Jae Crowder who gets so freaking mad and pissy that he's going to throw a tantrum and leave a championship winning situation because he may not start. You're not starting here either, pal. So what does he need to be happy? That's a little confusing. If you could make it work, I love the player, but this is a strange situation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's baffling. And I understand Phoenix going in that direction. I understand
right, and you
Phoenix
also have to
going
understand the frustration, being that team and what happened last year. And it's just sort of like a kick in the where. It's like, man, I thought you a starter at least. What's going on? But I see what you're saying, though. It's still kind of inappropriate, especially being in the situation that he's in. It's not like the Phoenix Suns all of a sudden are going to fall off a cliff here, but I guess he's just not feeling it.
The first thing that's weird to me is that this seems to be the era we're entering, where pretty much any player at any point in their contract can at least attempt to demand a trade. And remind me, last year, KJ Martin on the Rockets, who people probably don't even know, demanded a trade. Everyone was just like,
it's like,
all right.
you should have to be like, you should have to average a certain like stat line to demand a trade. You know what I mean? At some point,
everything. The thing that ended all of that this offseason was we've had two locally both Zach Senyshyn and N'Keal Harry demanded trades. Like, bro, like, you know,
there's another guy in the Bruins too, right? Yeah.
Senyshyn was like a wasted draft pick of Don Sweeney in 2015, who'd been a 4A player his whole life, never been able to crack the big club. He's like, trade me. Like, okay, how about this? I'll just cut you and then see if anyone picks you up, and then nobody does, So like, and N'Keal's kind of the same boat here.
N'Keal Harry was literally like,
I know DeBrusque too. I'm not talking about DeBrusque guys, but anyway, go ahead.
No, N'Keal Harry was so bad. It wasn't whether or not we're going to trade him. It was whether or not they're going to release him. And then somehow they got a 7th rounder for him. But yeah, that was pretty rough.
Yeah,
especially after the season. Crowder just had 39% from the field, 34% from 3, fell way off from 3. Not a high level rebounder, decent one, about 5 a game, give you 9 points. Like you said, John, if you could put him on the Celtics bench and have him be your backup wing, you feel really good about that. I'm just not sure how you.
He has to start, and Tatum has to come off the bench. That's the condition.
But that's why I wouldn't. That's my hesitation here. Is like, this is a guy, Jae Crowder. He's on a great team. If his first priority at this stage in his career is to win a championship, he would just play basketball, right?
Stay there.
Accept his role. You're in Phoenix. I mean, geez, it's one of the nicest states that you can possibly live in.
He's been a good fit on that team too.
Right, and exactly, and I think he's great for them. He gives them that extra little, toughness and that physicality.
Someone just said Jay could start at the 4. That's not a terrible idea while Rob is out.
Any team would be better with Jae Crowder on the team, but he has to have obviously the right attitude about it. So I think that you obviously would find out ahead of time if he would be content with the situation here before you make that type of a trade, and if he is, something that you would look at. The problem is what's he making, like $10 million or something this year?
So you have to get to 8. You have to get to $8 million.
Yeah,
you have to get to $8
That's
million.
the thing. What are you giving up here?
Pritchard gives you like 2. Grant's like 5, 6-ish, but you don't want to give up him.
It's hard. It's hard to get there.
It'd have to be like Hauser, Kornet, and Gallinari's contract, right? So Gallinari's contract's going to be useful, but
and then
again,
you have to give up something like a pick, right? Because I mean, why would Phoenix make that trade?
What's Phoenix going to do here? Because they are in win now mode. Like,
he's on an expiring deal, so he has value too to somebody.
Yeah, they are in absolute win now mode, so you can't just toss.
But you're
picks.
close. You can do Gallinari's contract.
But what good does that do them?
I'm saying, and Hauser, and then a pick. And if that's what they want,
a 2nd round pick.
A second.
See, the Suns aren't going to do that. Gallinari's, the tricky thing with his contract is it's a 2-year deal. So
but that's actually not a bad thing. You get him in this. You get him on the rebound.
Maybe. I don't see a deal happening here. Like, you could maybe throw White and get someone 2 players back from Phoenix.
We can't trade Gallinari until like January, right?
That's true. Yep.
I think you just said it, Bobby. I think that would interest the Suns. But how do you guys feel about that? Derek White would be dope.
That would be seen as a huge loss by Brad. That would be a big loss. He traded a 1st round pick for White. who else? What was it? First round pick. They swapped the first round pick.
Romeo.
Richardson, who ended up being a really serviceable player, and now you're gonna flip that for Jae Crowder. People are gonna substitute that trade and be like, "What the hell did Brad?"
Yeah,
do?
it doesn't make sense.
Right. It doesn't.
And I think this is obviously a big year for Derek White, right? I mean, this is his year where he's coming into the year on the team that he finished it with. So there's not going to be that adjustment. You hope that maybe the shot falls a little bit more often than it did last season, to say the least. And maybe the comfortability he has just coming into the year, he can be a lot more of a dependable, reliable, player for them. So I think he'd be selling low on White. I mean, based on what everyone was telling me about Derek White, I can't imagine why anyone can even consider making that trade.
Right.
He's like a top 30 player in the league.
Oh, he's possibly an all NBA defensive.
He's the only Celtics rotational player that didn't make the top 100. Grant made it.
I was gonna say, get out of here.
Grant did make it.
Was he one of those guys?
I'm still.
We never even talked about
that.
Tatum ended up at 7. What did you guys think of that? Tatum at 7.
I get it.
I'd take him over. Yeah, I can't say that yet.
Who?
He's getting close though. Close to LeBron. Listen, it sounds crazy, right?
35 or whatever it is.
Yeah, it sounds crazy. Tatum's better than LeBron, but LeBron at this point in his career on that team, and I haven't even looked at what happened at Lakers Media Day. That's my late night job tonight, but LeBron at this point in his career is chasing Kareem and scoring as many points as he can. Like all those little things have kind of diminished that he used to do. So at this point, Tatum's got to be at least neck and neck with him, right? Especially age-wise, like everything you're considering.
Really tough call. It's a really tough.
Yeah, because he's still LeBron at the end of the day, and that situation is killing him. But
it's not a matter of where Tatum is at 7. Is he closer to 5 or 15? In that position. Like
look at the top 5. You got Luka.
15 is Paul George. Is he closer to Paul George or is he closer to Luka? I think he's closer to Paul George.
No,
so I
think he's closer to Luka.
You think he's closer to Paul George?
Yeah.
Then
Paul George hasn't done it. Paul George doesn't do it for me anymore.
I think Luka's on another planet.
There's some vulnerabilities to his game too, though. Like all those guys in the top 5,
Tatum's
except for
defense
Giannis,
changes everything for sure.
Yeah, and that's what we don't talk about enough with him. Like he is on par with anyone else defensively at this point in his career.
It's the defense.
And, Giannis is like defensive player of the year caliber. So he's number 1 by miles to me. I'm interested that Tatum popped up over Durant. That's going to be an interesting
That's all
conversation
based off of injury. If Durant finishes the season last year, there's no way that happens. You've got a few of those situations that obviously this is why that's why I don't fully believe it. You got Durant and Kawhi below, and it's like, come on, it's Durant and Harden's another one, and maybe Harden is washed, and I'm willing to accept that. That's
he lost
possible.
100 pounds.
Yeah, right.
What about Curry? I thought Curry was kind of.
Curry's
I don't know
5.
if Curry's top 5 anymore. Yeah, I know. Is he still top 5?
It's
I know
it's
he's
recency
like
bias.
one of the most fun guys to watch. I just don't know if. Again, I just don't know if.
It's recency bias. Yeah, that's all. I wouldn't
did in the finals. Yeah, it's gonna bump him up a bit.
That was a ridiculous performance in the finals.
That's true. He
that
did
should
work
carry
them.
some
He
weight.
did work them. Yeah,
easily.
I'm not gonna argue it.
Those couple of down years, he started to slide in people's eyes, and then he's right back up. So we'll see. But anyway, we never got into that. It's a fun thing, and maybe we'll talk about it at some point. But we've done enough of this, and I don't want to do it anymore.
We'll put that for a few weeks from now.
But what we do have is legitimately, hopefully from here on out, basketball. Which tomorrow there's a practice and training camp begins, and Bobby Manning will be there from now until the rest of time covering the Celtics. Now his watch begins, and he's on the clock, and he's not coming off the clock until the Celtics go down in a fiery mess at the end of the year. No, until they, who knows what as far as the season goes. But we're back. Garden Report is back. Regular stuff. We've got the preseason. We're hopefully just talking ball going forward, with what we see here. So, again, Bobby's going to be covering practice. So make sure you follow him, follow CLNS Media for, all of our updates, subscribe to our YouTube channels and all that good stuff. And that's it. We are, unless there's a new bombshell, I believe the Udoka stuff won't be talked about nearly as much.
There's going to be something at some point that will come up, but yeah, I don't really want to. I hope it's not something that we have to just constantly bring up unless there's something really hard that comes out about it. That, you know,
Quick shout out once again to our sponsor, Garden Report, brought to you by Athletic Greens, one-stop shopping for 75 high-quality vitamins to help start your day right. And, of course, Calm, which is one of our favorites, been with us a long time. Calm, the #1 mental wellness app, give you the tools that improve the way you feel. 40% off a premium subscription, calm.com/garden. And again, just going back to that URL, athleticgreens.com/garden, free 1-year supply, and vitamin D, travel, and 5 travel packs, and of course a phenomenal t-shirt, which you can get here as well. So that's good stuff, right? Everybody likes that.
I can't wait
love
to
that. I'd love to be able to show one off, John. Maybe I'll get one someday.
Maybe you'll get one. Last thing I want to tell everybody, check out the audio version of the Garden Report podcast. There's a little, code there that you can scan. Boom, take you right to it. Terrific stuff. So, check that out. One of the things we ask of you is, this is a show we've been doing for years, and some of our ratings and reviews are a zillion years old, and nothing really updated. And we really would like and appreciate those of you who follow the show and like the show to pop on and maybe give us a fresh rating and a fresh review. And there it is.
It worked. It works. If you just put the camera up to that code, you will get sent right to here.
Yep.
And this is great because you know what, guys? Yeah, because you know what? It happens to me too. Like, I want to rewatch the show, but I'm driving and it's very dangerous, I'll be honest. So if I can just listen
fumbling with
it.
YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, you can't, unless you pay for YouTube, you can't get it to stay on when something pops up on your screen. So podcast is a great way to get your information without having to stare at the screen.
Yep. So definitely check that out. But like I said, we could really appreciate a few 5-star reviews and a couple of ratings and a couple of reviews here. Freshen up, talk about, the version of the show that we've been doing the last several years here. So definitely check that out. More Garden Reports to come, I'm sure, later on in the week. We may just wait till news kind of hits us, but one way or another, we will pop back up here sometime later, maybe Wednesday or Thursday night, and do another show. But until then, Jimmy Toscano, Bobby Manning, Josue Pavone, John Zanis, thanks, guys. We'll